right. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants event. My name is Joe Grabowski, and I'll be your host for today. We are off to the races. October is in the past. Our space exploration month was a ton of fun, but now we are on to some more exciting events. We've got a few things going on. We have a theme this month of archaeology, paleontology, and geology. So we have lots of really cool events coming up this month. If you visit exploringbytheseat.com, you can find some of those events and register with your classrooms. And then we also have a really fun event series this week in partnership with CNN's Call to Earth Day. So CNN Call to Earth is an editorial series committed to reporting on environmental challenges facing our planet, together with solutions. So they've partnered with Rolex Perpetual Planet Initiative to drive awareness and education around key sustainability issues to inspire positive action. So the official day, called Earth Day, is November 6th, but we thought it would be really fun to host a full series of events this week, celebrating some really amazing people on the front lines of our changing planets. We're talking scientists, explorers, conservationists, adventurers, engineers, who are doing really cool things around the world. So you can find those on the site as well. It's all week long from November 3rd to the 7th. In fact, we're kicking things off right now with our first event in that series. I'm really excited to have Mark Evans joining us. So Mark has lived in Arabia for over 25 years, but is now based in Scotland. He was awarded the MBE by Her Majesty the Queen for his work using challenging outdoor journeys for personal development and learning, and was awarded the Medal of Honor by the Sultan of Oman for his work establishing Outward Bound in the Sultanate. So starting in November 2025, Oman 3165 will be a 70-day journey by kayak along the coast of Oman in celebration of World Maritime Day, capturing stories of innovation and biodiversity, celebrating Oman's rich maritime heritage, and using communication technology to inspire the next generation of ocean caretakers for a sustainable future. So we're pretty lucky. We have Mark days away from departure on this epic expedition. I'm going to reach backstage and see if we've got him there in Scotland. Hey, Mark.
How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Yeah, well, I'm all right. It's running out of days, but and my office is a complete bomb site with equipment and so much technology involved in expeditions these days. It was so much easier about 100 years ago.
All right, fair enough. Well, I know if anybody can pull it off, it's you, I'm sure. I know we've been talking for months and months about this leading up to the expedition. It's exciting that it's here. And I'm really looking forward to following along and making sure we have classrooms tagging along too.
Great. And I just loved your intro video there, Joe. And I was writing things down as it just inspiring positive action, those words that you use, because that's exactly what we use expeditions for, is to really inspire the next generation through what you're doing, really. So it's great. It resonates and connects beautifully.
Perfect. Well, Mark, I know you have a little PowerPoint for us. You're going to kind of take us into, the world of this expedition and what's going to be happening over the next few months. So I'll let you take over for a bit.
Well, I'm going to try, Joe, but as some of your viewers will soon detect, I'm a bit of a dinosaur. I'm much better on the back of a camel than I am with this stuff. So I'm going to have a go here. So stop screen. Oh, dear.
Oh, we're already sharing, Mark. So if you just go down to the bottom, the menu should pop up with your PowerPoint.
There we are. Go. Thank you so much. Okay. So perfect. Thanks, Joe. So the project is called Oman 3165, and we gave it that curious name simply because we wanted it to prompt a reaction and a question. And the obvious question that people will ask is, well, what's 3165? And 3165 is the length of the coastline of this beautiful country called Oman in kilometers. So the first thing that it's thrown up for me as a curious geographer and explorer is, how do you measure the length of a coastline? And if you went out and you interviewed 10 different people, you'd get about 8 different answers. So one thing that's reliable is that people disagree on the length of the coastline of any country, because it all depends how you measure it. Do you measure it at high water, low water? Is it continuous, every little in and out? Is it every 5 kilometers? Well, whatever you use, this is the distance that is considered to be the distance by the government of Oman. So the project is called Oman 3165. And the 70-day bit is the only bit we're really unsure about, because I have no idea how long it's going to take me. I think I've got a gut feeling about 70 days, but it all depends on the weather, because what you're looking at here is a 5-meter kayak. It's made of fiberglass reinforced with something called Kevlar. And it weighs about 22 kilos, so I can pick it up pretty easily and throw it onto the top of a vehicle. But it's an incredible design. It looks very small, but actually it's amazingly well suited to paddling the oceans. And this particular style of boat has been in some of the roughest waters on the planet. Around Cape Horn in South America, and you can see it's called the Nord Cap, which is the Norwegian name for North Cape. These huge cliffs that plummet down into the sea, the very, very northern tip of mainland Europe. So this boat has been in some of the wildest waters in the world. And I don't think the waters in Oman, which has been my home for 25 years, the waters aren't that bad in Oman. So hopefully, but even so, there will be days when I can't paddle. So whether it's 60 days, 70 days, or 80 days, I don't know. But what I do know is that I'll be trying to get onto the water every day and paddling this incredible coastline. Well, you know, Oman is a country that people don't know very much about. If you really, the easiest way to describe it when people say, where do you live? And I say, well, I live near Dubai. Dubai is in the United Arab Emirates, just to the northwest. You can see of Oman there. Oman is a kind of a sleepy backwater, really, but it's absolutely beautiful. It's been my home for 25 years. I've never locked my door. It's one of the safest places I've ever been. And for an explorer who loves the mountains, the oceans, and the desert, it's absolute paradise. Because I don't know in sort of Canada, US terms, but in terms of my own country in the UK, Oman's about the same size as the UK in land area, but it only has a population of 5 million people, whereas in the UK we have 70 million people. So Oman relatively is has a very low population, which means you can find wilderness and empty beaches and empty mountains pretty easily if you're a curious explorer. The capital city is Muscat, which you can see in the northeast there. The second city is Salalah, way in the south near the border with Yemen. And the countries across to the north, the Gulf of Oman, you have Pakistan and Iran. And if you go to the very northern tip of the map, you'll see a part of Oman that is separated from the rest of Oman. It's called an enclave, and it's called Musandam. And the main community there is called Al-Kasab. And Kasab overlooks one of the busiest waterways on the planet, the Straits of Hormuz, which is where a huge percentage of all the world's oil that comes out of Saudi Arabia and Qatar, Bahrain, UAE, Kuwait, all of those ships squeeze through the Straits of Hormuz. So it's going to be a pretty busy waterway when I start there. And I'm going to be starting there on November the 13th, when we're going to be waved off by the senior governor of Musandam. And then we're going to follow the coastline as far as we can, southeast past Muscat, landing every day. So I'll be trying to paddle just before sunrise every day when the sea is quite calm. And as the desert heats up very quickly when the sun comes up, then the wind builds up and the sea gets quite rough quite quickly. So I want to be on the water early, off the water early, just before lunchtime. And then I have all the afternoon to process all of the GoPro footage and the images. And we'll be doing lots of scientific research as we go. And I think we'll reach that border with Yemen in sometime in February next year. But we're going to take a break because we have thousands of young people following this all around the world. And what we don't want to do is to keep going over Christmas when many of those schools are on holiday. So we stop leg one on December the 18th, and we start again on January the 4th when many schools go back, so that we can keep the interaction going. So I'll have 2 kayaks, and this is Musandam. This is the mountainous area of Oman to the north. We'll have a support vehicle, not this particular vehicle. I did attempt this journey 20 years ago, and but I had a job then which really limited the time that I could devote to it, and I wasn't able to finish the journey. So now I'm retired. I can take my time and paddle 30 to 40 kilometers a day, do my scientific research, and try and use the imagery and all the wonders of modern technology to share this incredible country and incredible coastline with you all. So we launched the project in London on September the 25th, about a month and a half ago. And you can see the kayak there in the hallway. This is a very famous old building called the Royal Geographical Society in London. And we chose to launch here because it's really the home of exploration. And we chose September the 5th because it was World Maritime Day. And every World Maritime Day has a theme every year, September the 25th. And so the theme this year was our ocean, because it is our ocean. No one owns the ocean. Our obligation, well, we all have an obligation to treat the ocean better than we do, whether we're individuals or industry. And then our opportunity, and this is my opportunity to try and put the spotlight on this incredible ocean. And it's my opportunity to share my journey with yourselves, viewers, through Joe's incredible organization, Explore by the Seat of Your Pants. So that's the mantra that's embedded in our website. And this is the coast of Oman. It's absolutely beautiful, and amazing turtles, amazing fish. But I'm not just going to be telling stories through my podcasts and social media posts about fish and turtles. It's all about people as well, because the planet is all about people and place, and sustainability is about how people interact with place, and we can't achieve sustainability without addressing the needs of people. So I'll be telling the stories also of the people whose lives are affected or influenced by the sea here in Oman. And you can see some areas very sandy and shallow, other areas much more mountainous. You know, there are places where I can land my kayak. There are plenty of places where I cannot. So I need to look at the map very carefully every day when I set off. An opportunity for us to focus on the UN sustainability goals, in particular Sustainability Goal 14, life below the water, because whilst Oman does have a very rich ocean, like every ocean in the world, it's not as rich as it once was, and the life there is declining quite dramatically. But as we've seen from great projects around the world, that the ocean has this incredible ability to recover very quickly if we give it the chance to do so. And this we call shifting baseline syndrome. And what that means is that young people born in 2019, you know, how old will they be today? 6 years old. Well, if they go down to the beach and they look in the water today, they might see a few bits of life around, a few bits of plastic floating around. But if they'd done that 50 years ago or 70 years ago in 1950, it would have been much more life. And go back to 1800, the ocean was teeming with life. But the danger is, of course, that people think the way it is today is the way it's always been. But it's not the case, and we need to do something to reverse the decline, which is where I hope my journey will inspire the next generation. So I'll be on the water. The aim is to get on the water for sunrise or just before it every day, because then there's been no wind at all during the night. The sea has died down and it's like a mirror, and I can paddle this kayak at about 6 kilometers an hour, which isn't so fast. But when you're doing a marathon a day every day for 70 days just using your arms, you have to really pace yourself, and I don't want to overdo things. Of course, I could do 45 kilometers, but I couldn't do that every day repeatedly. So like training for a marathon, I build up slowly and slowly, and hopefully get myself fit as I paddle. So kayaks are hunting craft. They were designed by the people of the north, the Inuit in Greenland. And they're very good to sneak up quietly because there's no engine on seals. And then if you have a little white sheet to hide behind, you can hunt your seal and take it back to feed your dogs, feed your family. But today kayaks are craft for leisure and pleasure, but in my case for education and science, because my kayak will be a floating classroom, but it'll also be a floating laboratory. And my day, I'm speaking to you now from Scotland, my day started this morning with a conversation with these lovely people in New Zealand. And the cutting edge technology in marine science right now is something called eDNA. You've probably all heard of DNA. Well, eDNA is environmental DNA, and every one of us, every creature in the ocean, on land, on Earth, sheds DNA all the time. A forensic policeman going to a crime scene now will use DNA analysis to find out who was responsible. We can do the same analysis in the ocean. quite expensive, but I take a DNA pack, and it's about the size of a packet of potato chips. It's very light. I take a sample of water with a syringe when I'm bobbing around in the sea. I pull a litre of water through a small filter, and I post that small filter to New Zealand, where the team there, what you're looking at here is what was found in 1 litre of water in Sydney Harbour, which is not the cleanest water in the world, probably, but amazing life. So evidence of what's been there. It doesn't tell you how many of each species, but it tells you the species that have passed through that body of water within a couple of weeks. So we're really excited with some of the science we're going to be doing. And the great thing about eDNA is that you can get the results within 2 weeks. It's really, really fast. And it's never been done in Oman before. So we're really excited about that. And we're also going to be looking in particular at 2 particular species of sea mammals that are on the red list. IUCN is the International Union for the Conservation of Nature, and red obviously for danger. So these species are both super threatened. So you've probably heard of the humpback whale, but there's also something called the humpback dolphin. And if you look at this image, just before the dorsal fin, there's a hump. The poor things, they're globally endangered. In Oman, a few have been seen, but their great weakness is that they like to hang out in the shallow waters, and that's where the fishermen have their nets. So because Oman has such a small population, it doesn't have many field scientists out doing the research. So me being on the water for 6-7 hours every day for the entire coastline means that I can really keep my eyes and ears open. I'll have a GoPro camera strapped to my head. And if I see one of these, then I'll film it, and I'll send that film to the specialists, the marine biologists in Oman, who can interpret it. And then something else humpbacked, the humpback whale. Well, humpback whales are not endangered globally. You can see on the map here underneath the whales chin, it says globally least concern, but regionally really on the red list, because Oman, humpback whales need to move from hot to cold water to breed and feed. So everywhere in the world they migrate, and that's when we can see them from our boats. But in Oman, because the monsoon shifts every year, the hot and cold water come to them, so they don't move. They're the only non-migratory population of humpbacks in the world. That means they're genetically isolated. They never meet humpback whales from any other population. Their song is totally different, but they also are really struggling. 4 of these beautiful animals were washed up dead on the beach this year, and there are less than 100 left. And their only source of replenishing themselves is the breeding within that population. So they're really at a dangerous stage of their evolution. So I'll be working to put the spotlight on what Oman is doing. I loved what you said just before, Joe, about action, about positive steps to make the world a better place and to make the world more sustainable. And Asyad, you can see the big letters on the side of this enormous boat. Asyad are Oman's biggest shipping company, and I just love their head of sustainability. He really does believe in sustainability. It's not just a job for him, it's a life. And these 5 towers you see on the boat, they are wind turbines. And when I think of a wind turbine, I think of a windmill on the mountain here in Scotland spinning around. But these are vertical wind turbines that when this boat is going across the ocean, when it uses those turbines, it can reduce the amount of diesel, which is quite polluting. It can reduce the amount of diesel by between 8 and 10%. So they're really doing some really innovative stuff. So the podcasts that I share as I'm going, it's not just about people and whales, it's about industry trying to do its bit to achieve a sustainable future as well. And my beautiful kayak here, made by Valley, this is over 50 years, celebrating 50 years this year since the first one of these beautiful boats was produced. It's an amazing boat. And you know, these are the old Inuit people, and what you see there is an inflated seal skin, and the purpose of that, so the original kayaks were made of whalebone and seal skin stretched over the top, but to stop you falling in, or to like a life raft or a life belt, if you like, they'd inflate the bladder or the skin of a seal. That's what you see on the back of the boat there, and that would stop them sinking in the water. So the hope is, Joe, that using technology, and gosh, I've got to try and squeeze all this in my kayak, using amazing communication technology, that we can invite your listeners to join us around the campfire as the sun's going down in Oman every evening on the journey, and we can tell you how we're doing, and we can answer any questions that your curious listeners may have. So I hope that puts a bit of spotlight on what the journey is and what it's all about.
Yeah, I think it absolutely does, Mark. I think this final photo is pretty powerful too. All the gear you're going to be taking in that craft. I mean, it's long, but it's at the end of the day, it's not that big. You're going to take up some space in there too.
Absolutely, yeah. But what I forgot to say, Joe, because this photograph was taken 50 years ago. So this was the North Cape expedition.
Yeah.
And this is what they squeezed in, hence the old style of paddles and things. But really, not too much has changed. Just the materials that things are made of now, carbon fiber for being light. But the two circular holes for people who don't know much about kayaks. Obviously, the big hole in the middle is where I will sit, and my legs stretch out in front of me. And then I seal that. So I wear a kind of elastic skirt around my waist that seals around that hole, so no water's going to get in. But the two round holes at the front, that enables me to stuff all of that equipment carefully inside. And those are watertight compartments. So there's a wall between where I sit fore and aft in front of my feet and behind my back that seals off the front and the back of the boat, where I can store my gear, and hopefully it stays dry until I reach the beach every day.
All right. Well, I'm going to take that down. And Mark, if you want to come back, you just need to go to the Chromebook, and that should let you see us again too.
Okay. I will do my best in doing that. Is that escape, Joe? I think.
Yeah, escape, and then down to the bottom menu. Hopefully you'll see the Chrome option, and then you'll be able to see us.
Great.
Perfect. All right. Well, there we go. The tech stuff is done. Now we're just going to talk, and we'll have some questions. It'll be nice and easy from here on in. So the first question I have here in the chat, Mark, which is an interesting one, considering you showed us that picture of the big ship too, and you'll be starting in a big port. Are you concerned at all about larger ships spotting you in the water because you're so low?
Very good point. Yeah, and I don't show up on a radar either. So that's a really good point. I guess in the joy of a kayak is that I can paddle in 1 meter of water. I don't want to on this occasion, because one of the science projects I'm going to be doing is towing an underwater microphone called a hydrophone. So in addition to taking eDNA samples, I'm going to be listening under the water, because I'm going to be floating on this ocean for 70 days. I'm going to see probably 5% of what's around me, because it's all underneath me and I can't see it, but I can hear it if I tow this hydrophone. So I've got a 5 meter cable, which is weighted. It's one end is tied to my kayak. On the other end in the water is a really sensitive hydrophone that if there are humpback whales down there, if there are any mammals down there, I can hear, but also industrial noise as well from boats. So the answer to the question is I'm not too worried about the boats when I'm on the water most of the time, but I will be having to cut across some pretty busy ports and harbors. So what I have to do then, I have to radio ahead to the harbor master. So in all of the harbors, there's someone in a control tower like you have at an airport, and it's the harbor master's job to manage the flow of traffic in and out. So they're going to be pretty irritated with me because I'm going really slowly, but I'm going to have to ask them just to alert all boat traffic. And probably they'll send a small boat out to accompany me, and that boat will have a red flag or something. Hopefully it'll bring me a nice cup of coffee or something like that as well. But so that's the only kind of concern in terms of big boats. But do you know what, Joe? It's actually little boats that I'm worried about, because most Omanis still fish. I mean, Omani's incredibly modern today. You've got 5G and Starbucks and everything, but a lot of people have small fishing boats.
Yeah.
And they go out on the water just before dawn for the same reason that I'm going to do that, because the sea is lovely and smooth. But none of them have any lights. And but you can hear them. You can hear the outboard engine. So I'm going to have to paddle with my head torch flashing on red. And I also have on my paddles and on my kayak some reflective tape that if they do have a flash of a light, at least they'll be able to see me. But I'm more worried about a collision with one of those guys than I am with one of the big boats.
Yeah. Okay. I've got a question here from a classroom in Toronto, and they're wondering if the heat concerns you, if you'll be worried about the heat being under the sun all day, if that concerns you.
Well, it does, because I live in Scotland and it's 2 degrees here today. It's probably about the same temperature in Toronto, probably. So I'm going to have to adjust pretty quickly. But I have lived in Oman for 25 years, so I am used to the heat. But so the sun is my enemy. It's also my friend in that it warms me up in the morning, because it'll be pretty chilly when I start. The temperature drops very suddenly at night, because it's almost always a cloudless sky. So that means all the heat that hits the sand every day radiates out at night. And me sleeping on the sand, I'm going to be warm when I go to sleep, but I'm going to be shivering about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, because the temperature drops like a stone. So it's my enemy, it's my friend, and all you can do is cover up. So if you think about it, my legs are going to be completely covered in the kayak. My arms, probably I'll either wear a t-shirt or a long sleeve rash vest. I'll have a sun hat on. I'll have sunglasses on. I'll probably have some fingerless gloves on so I can feel the end of the paddle, but also to stop getting blisters across my hand here.
Yeah.
But those fingerless gloves, sometimes, when we're walking in the desert, we use trekking poles. And I often forget, I put sun cream on my face and on my head, but I forget the back of my hands. So I've got to remember to protect my hands. So that's a really good question, but I'm hoping I can avoid that by wearing the right clothing and being off the water before the hottest part of the day. So if I'm on the water by 5 a.m. every morning, I'm probably going to be coming off about 11 a.m. or midday. And then the support vehicle will meet me, will clean me off and get all the salt off me. And then we'll probably drive into the desert and find a tree with some shade, and we'll set up our campsite for the night.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. And well, that's a good segue to the next question, which is, what do the evenings look like after you've set up camp? What do you get up to? Are you crashing right out, or is there work to be done?
Oh, that's a great question. Do you know what, Joe? I've never had so much technology. It's brilliant because it enables us to communicate with so many people around the world, but we're going to be super busy. So probably every other day, depending where in the world, we're going to be having an online chat like this. Either on this platform or on Zoom. So we're working with a host of ocean charities, some of which are based in Singapore and Hong Kong, which are on a totally different time zone to yourself, with some in the UK. So there's going to be a lot of that going on.
Yeah.
The hydrophone that I'm towing, that's going to be gathering several gigabytes of data every day. So we have to download that and store it onto a storage device. And then I'll just hand that storage device to the experts at the University of St. Andrews in Britain. I'll have a 360 camera. So we're working with a university in Britain, and they're going to be taking that 360 image I take every day. I'll probably take 4 or 5 images every day, and they're going to be uploading that onto an online story map, which people will be able to access via the website. Which if you've got virtual reality goggles, you'll be able to have a really immersive experience. And then we've got the podcasts and the social media, and then we have to recharge all the batteries that are drained in the day to make sure that I'm ready to go the next morning, because in the morning it'll be a matter of an alarm going off in the dark, getting out of a wet sleeping bag because there'll be quite a heavy dew every morning, and then going to the water. Everything needs to be ready to push me out on the water, and I'll be half asleep. And so we've got to get everything ready the night before to go the next morning.
Yeah.
So we're going to be busy.
Yeah. Well, it's a good thing you have that support team. I think they'll be a huge help keeping the technology running and charged. And yes, will definitely make life a bit easier for you.
For sure.
So, wildlife question here from a group in New York, wondering, do you anticipate lots of wildlife, or do you think, like many places in the ocean, that a lot of it's been lost?
Well, the answer to that is both, because Oman, the ocean in Oman is really rich, really rich. And the joy of a kayak, Joe, is that animals are curious. They see this rhythmic, quiet motion of this paddle touching the water and this silent, very sleek vessel. And they're curious. They come up. So I'll have turtles bouncing up around me, and the turtles there, some of the leatherback So they're the size of huge dustbin lids. They're utterly huge, and tuna the size of I don't know what I can liken that to, but you see these huge black shadows bolting underneath your kayak. Sea snakes swim up and rub their nose against the side of the kayak, and I've had a couple of humpback whales in the past just coming up out of the water like a big submarine and just gently disappearing again. So I'm going to see a lot of stuff, no doubt about it, and amazing black and white rays that leap out of the water, just I think for the joy of the fact that they can. And but it's nowhere near as much as it was 20 years ago. I have a good friend out there who I'll be doing a podcast with, who's been diving in the waters of Oman for 20 plus years, and he reckons there's probably half the amount of life in the ocean that there was 20 years ago.
Yeah,
which is really, but that's, as your questioner rightly said, that's the same pretty much everywhere in the world, sadly.
Yeah. So this is a follow-up from that same class in New York, and they're curious, is all the food going to be kind of with you in the van or with the support team, or will you do any fishing from the kayak along the way?
Well, rather ridiculously, I don't eat fish, which is a bit stupid, really, isn't it, when you're living on the sea for 70 days? But one of my memories as a child is that my first visit to hospital was as about an 8-year-old child, when I got a fish bone caught in the back of my throat. And my mother and father couldn't release it, hard as they were slapping my back. And so they had to drive. We lived a long way in the countryside, so they had a long drive to hospital, and all I can remember is fainting in the hospital when someone stuck a great big set of needles down my throat to pull out this fish bone. So ever since then, you won't get me anywhere near a fish. So we will carry a little bit of food. I'll carry always 3 days worth of food in my kayak, in case there'll be times when I can't rendezvous with the support team. And in that case, I'm going to be on my own. I'll have a tent in my kayak, I'll have a sleeping bag, I'll have a stove, a head torch, everything I need to survive quite happily. But most of the time we will be able to rendezvous, and the team can buy little bits of food as they go. They can buy rice, and we can cook rice. Those guys can eat fish. I just don't eat fish, but I can have chicken or vegetable. And there's a big Southeast Asian community in Oman, Joe. So the national dish of Oman is probably chicken biryani, which is the same as it is in Britain these days. So it's we'll be eating a lot of chicken biryani, I hope.
All right. Sounds good. And speaking of calories, what's your intake for the day going to look like? I'm sure it'll be much higher than usual.
Well, I have the Wilfred Thesiger approach to expeditions. I eat as much as I can before I start. That's my excuse. So I'm currently just eating anything and everything I can. And I'm going to hope that my reserves carry me through. But, I will be trying to eat as healthily as I can. I'm taking salt supplements every day just to chew on as I'm going, but also in the water. So I'll have 1.5 liters of water in the kayak down between my legs, and that'll be in contact with the ocean water. So it'll stay relatively cool, rather than keeping it on the deck or having a bladder in my flotation device, my life jacket. That's going to get pretty hot. Whereas if I keep my drinking water down in contact with the base of the boat, which is in contact with the water, it'll stay nice and cool. So yeah, I will be trying to eat as much as I can, but nothing particularly special. Just trying to eat as much as I can and as healthily as I can, and just remember to replacing the electrolytes that I'm going to be using or losing through the sweating.
Okay. Well, this question here from a group down in Florida is pretty a common theme. It doesn't matter if you're an astronaut, or you're rowing across an ocean, or you are climbing a mountain. Students always want to know how you take care of your business. If you're going to be kayaking all day long and you have to go to the bathroom, what does that look like?
Well, I would imagine the same way that they do in Florida. I would, biologically, we're all the same. But it's, what I obviously, the last thing I need to do every morning before I leap in that kayak and get going on that beach is to make sure I go to the toilet as thoroughly as I can. And if I need to pee in the day, then there's an incredible invention called a Ziploc bag, which is just a little plastic bag that you put your sandwiches in. I'll have one of those in my PFD and in my flotation device. And if I need to go to the loo, then I can adjust my clothing, have a pee in this little bag, throw it over the side, just like you would in an ocean rowing boat. Yep. And then rinse the bag out in the water and reuse it the next day. But you know what? It doesn't happen that often, because you do spend, hard as you try and drink, you do spend time in a permanent state of dehydration, to be honest. Yeah. But that's a great question, because it's a realistic part of every day.
Yeah, no, classrooms are always curious. We were talking to an astronaut last week, Katie Coleman, and she showed us, she had a video of the toilet they use and the suction. So she was showing how M&Ms could float above the toilet and get pulled gently by the suction down into the toilet. So we got to see the whole works, how it works in space. Whoa. So the classrooms were pretty excited about that.
Yeah, great. Well, I can't quite beat that, but yeah, I will be dreaming of M&Ms. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. And then what about like along the way, are you totally devoted to paddling? Will there be days you could visit a classroom, or you have any other obligations?
Yeah, no, that's a great question to you, Joe. So yeah, obviously the priority is to cover the ground whilst we're ticking the science boxes, but we're not just about science, we're about education, as you rightly point out. So these virtual campfire sessions that we'll have with people like yourself, that can be ongoing, and that can be pretty much anywhere. But then when we do pass the capital city like Muscat, then that's a real opportunity for us to go in and engage directly with students and schools. So we'll be working with a couple of universities in Muscat and schools. So, the kids get real excited when the 4-wheel drive comes in with the big kayaks on the roof rack. And so that'll be good. And one of the partners that we have is our Nikon, the camera people. So they're setting up some camera photography workshops. So one of the people in the support vehicle is an incredible girl from Romania who now lives in Switzerland, and she was awarded the highest medal for photography that the Royal Geographical Society can award, and she got that this May, which is brilliant. So Anna Maria will be with me, and she's going to go in and do some workshops with aspiring young Omani photographers and emerging talent, to sort of just share with them what she does, and I'm sure she can learn from them also. And but also, that's a great sort of another example of what we'll be doing as we pass through these communities.
Yeah. So I've got 2 more questions here in the chat, Mark, and that's pretty convenient because that's about what we can squeeze in. So the first one is more wildlife. You talk about wildlife in the ocean, but students are wondering what wildlife is like in the desert.
Oh, great question also. Well, this is I don't know if the students can see this, Joe, but this is a camera trap, and every night, one of the most exciting parts of what I do, because I love this, I will take this to a rock or a tree, and in front of it, I will put a tin of tuna about 1 meter or 2 meters in front of it, and the smell of that tuna will attract whatever there is in the desert, because you don't see anything in the day because of the heat. Much of the wildlife is adapted to coming out at night to avoid the heat. And so one of my great joys every day is taking the little SD card out of the camera trap and seeing what we shared our campsite with. And you're going to be amazed. And it might, there'll be a lot of one particular species of mammal, but as we get down towards that border with Yemen, we had some amazing wildlife less than 100 meters from where we were sleeping. I'm not going to get people too excited, but we'll be posting hopefully that little 10-second video clip on the social media channels that we'll be using every day, because interestingly, Joe, a lot of the primary junior school children really looked forward to that. The teachers were telling us they were coming to school every day, desperate to see what we'd had around us, because most of the time we won't be sleeping in tents because of that starry sky at night. You just want to lie on a mattress on the sand and just it's winter, so there won't be much scorpion activity, so we'll be pretty safe from the scorpions. And so it's just lovely to know that there are beautiful animals around you in the desert that are absolutely no threat. They're as sort of respectful of me as I am of them.
All right. This is back to Canada for a question from a class in Ontario. Are you bringing anything with you to remind you of home?
Yeah, well, good question. I will, do you know, I haven't thought of what to take. I often carry one of my heroes with me, actually, and he's a small little fella here. This is him, and this is my desert hero called Lawrence, T.E. Lawrence of Arabia, and he's a bit of a swashbuckling British kind of hero. He turns up on TV every Christmas because the film about his life is a sort of film classic. So often he comes with me wherever I am, because if I'm on my own, I can have a conversation with him and he doesn't argue. He's great. But I'm not sure in the kayak, he may be a wee bit too big. So I need to rethink who I'm going to take this time. But that's a really good question.
All right. Well, Mark, obviously you want classrooms to follow along. I'm going to put the website up here, oman3165.com. Is that the best spot to follow along?
Absolutely, it is. Yeah. So there will be a little icon on the top of the home page which says track the journey. That's not live yet because we don't start paddling until the 13th. But once we start sending back these 360 images, then also you'll have this opportunity to have a much more of an immersive experience on a virtual story map. So the icon for that will be appearing within the next week, we hope, as well. So there are multiple ways people can follow. And also the podcasts. So if you enjoy podcasts, you can go onto Spotify or Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you just type in Oman 3165, there are 3 podcasts there already. And we'll be podcasting every second or third day. So you can be part of the journey in audio terms, as well as joining us digitally around the campfire.
Yeah, great. Well, Mark, thanks so much for joining us today. Kicking off it's a crazy big long week of events, but it's great to share this expedition and the impact it's going to have, hopefully inspiring a new generation of ocean stewards, getting people excited about the ocean and following along on that journey. We can't wait to follow along, and I'll talk to you maybe a little bit later too about when we can do something from the field. It'll be fun to talk to classrooms maybe from that campfire one night, and you can tell us how the day went.
That would be fantastic. Yeah, look forward to that.
Excellent. Well, we'll let you go for now, Mark. Good luck with the planning. A shout out to our classrooms who tuned in. Thanks for those great questions. And we hope to see you all week long. It's going to be a busy, busy week. Thanks, everyone.
Have a good week, Joe. Thank you.